We are going live.
In three, two, one, and we're
Here we
back.
are. It's crazy. Hopefully, people are. I see people are in the room, and we are, in fact, live. Yes, we are.
Wow, what a strange feeling. It's
I
like
need to. I need to turn off the sound. I need to turn off the sound there.
sound in the room.
I have. Oh, okay. Here's. I need to cancel that. Okay, now we're okay. Hello, everybody.
Hi, good
That
morning.
was a little bit of technology goofing around.
Yeah, the dilithium crystals were peeling like bananas.
Only 8 minutes late. We are the Weirded Beardos. I'm Daren
I'm
Dochterman.
I'm the weird one. He's the bearded one.
You're even more bearded and more
That's
weirded, as it turns out. This across from me is Kirk Thatcher, the
hello, America, and
wonderful
points overseas.
Star Trek personality and Muppetologist. Uh,
Muppet failure.
good morning. How are you?
Guggen Mogen, mein Frugen. That's authentic Swedish chef greeting.
Well, good. Birdie, birdie, burger.
We should do this entire podcast in Swedish Chef just to make it
Maybe the
different.
next one. We'll do the next one as Swedish chef.
Dirking trick.
Oh,
Burger.
your furniture virtual trick cocoon.
This is the kind of clever comedy you could expect from the Weirded Beardos every week.
Every week, join us. Well, welcome. This is our virtual TrekCon panel, early here on Saturday morning, uh, and there's a question here,
Oh,
right off the bat from DJ
excellent.
Kitty Cat. The question is, Kirk, did you ever work with Gates McFadden on Muppet stuff?
No, I know that she was involved before I started. I started around 87, 80, late 86,
Right. She was on
87.
Labyrinth, which was
Yeah, she worked
86.
on the. Yeah, we missed each other. I didn't. I mean, I only knew about her from Trek, but
Right.
yeah, I'd heard that. No, I never got to meet Gates, and I don't think because that was shot in England. There was not
Right.
any real crossover.
Right. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was a deep cut. It's a good
and
crossover.
Melissa Longo says, "Good morning, Beardos." Good morning, Melissa.
Good
Uh,
morning,
and
Melissa.
uh, Ryan T. Husk calls us the two finest dudes in the quadrant, which is very
Oh,
sweet. But
wait,
I
we
can't
thought
agree. There are fine dudes just the next couple parsecs over.
we're not fine either. We're more like husky. We're not.
Speak
Oh,
for
I see.
yourself, Mister Husk.
I do. I speak for all of me.
Ah, all of me. Why not take all of me? This is the all singing, all dancing, live Weirded Beardos. If you haven't listened to us before, which judging by the attendance, you haven't. Uh,
It's
uh,
basically here's how I pitch it. We're Pinky in the Brain if we were people.
huh.
There's a lot of
I
truth to that.
I think there's too much of
Pinky.
both in both of us to be very distinct because I think occasionally we are both Pinky and Brain. Uh,
Yes. Yes, Pinky.
yes, always.
Always. Tonight on The Brain of the Brain.
So the Beardos talk about uh,
Everything.
anything except mostly Muppets and Star Trek. Um,
We do talk about Muppets and Star. It kind of gets peppered in from all the other things we discuss.
but considering this is the virtual TrekCon,
Yes.
I think it's not out of character to talk about our mostly your participation in that which we call Star Trek, or which
Hence
used to be.
Admiral Kirk. See, it's a visual pun.
Right,
See.
Admiral.
Yes.
Admiral.
Clever. Beyond your dreams of avarice.
Yes.
Yeah, so we often throw in quotes from Trek and stuff, but since this is a Trek centric I thought we could just talk about our involvement with it. I mean,
We
people.
are Trek-centric. Hmm.
Yeah, they must assimilate. I grew up loving the show, as I know you did, Darren. Um,
Which show?
this little show called Deep Space Trek, Star
Oh,
Trek Wars 9. Um, I had posters of Kirk and Spock in my bedroom,
uh-huh.
the ones that were available in the 60s, I guess. And I remember, so most people know I worked on Star Trek 4, so we don't need to get into that. There's a couple weird other things I've done that people might not know. Um, but anyway, when my mom at the screening of Star Trek 4 met Leonard Nimoy, she said, "Oh, this has been so great for Kirk. He had posters of you and Captain Kirk in the bedroom." They're like, "Mom!" I mean,
Mom, cut it out!
yeah, I was. Thank God that was after the movie had been made, and but I was mortified, and she was just being a sweet mom, but it was funny. But
Wow.
I don't know if people know that besides Star Trek 4, which I'm happy to answer any questions about, but I also did the narrator voice in Ephraim and Dot,
Right.
which is the animated one of the Trek
One of the Star Trek shorts.
shorts, yeah. And then most people know, but maybe not everybody, they brought me back as the Punk Revisited in Picard season 2. I think it's episode 4. And some people don't know this. I rewrote "I Hate You" and updated it, and it starts out. It's 35 years later, and nothing much has changed. And so that was fun. So and then happy to answer questions about any of all those
We
Trek things.
have a question
Oh,
from
yes.
one Trek fan. Question for you, Kirk. Did you ever get copies of the Punk on the Bus action figure? I want one.
Copies. Well, I didn't know there was one made. Kevin Feige was a huge Star Trek fan, and we became friends. He had one custom made by the guy who made the what are they 6-inch, not the 8-inch Mego size, but the smaller figures that were made for Star Trek 4.
Right.
There wasn't a punk figure, so he had the guy who made them custom make one, and he made one for him, being Kevin, one for me, and one for our mutual friend, who was how I met Kevin, Michael Giacchino. So, yes, technically I have one, but it's a limited edition of 3, maybe 4. The guy who made it might have one, but they were all, sculpted, cast,
Custom
and
made.
painted. Yeah,
Yeah.
custom made, and it came in a little plastic, thing. I should, if I can
A little
drag it out
plastic
later.
thing.
Little plastic thing. So that's the only punk figure that I know. I've been working on one, more of a not an action figure, but a like a resin, like a sideshow collectibles kind of thing. I've had sculpted up, and I'm not sure exactly what to do. The one idea is to do a limited edition, like what's cool is we built it around these actually available Bluetooth boom boxes that are very similar to the one I had
Right.
in the movie, and it actually can play. So the idea is to sell a limited edition with the boombox with both versions of "I Hate You" on it, and the deluxe edition would have me as my 22-year-old self, and then me as my 50, whatever I was, 58-year-old self, uh, with a different head. I'm not going to make that larger body strictly out of finances, not vanity.
No.
But that's the only figures that I'm aware of is that they were both kind of custom things. But if there is one available, I would like to know about it. So please direct me to a website or something.
Let us know, one Trek fan.
Yes, one Trek fan is all it needs.
I'm typing to our watchers. Feel free to ask questions.
Please stop asking Kirk questions. He's obviously
You don't
mentally
want to know
disabled.
any more about Kirk. You want to talk to Daren.
He's, may I use the term, a Trekspert.
Well, I'm an inglorious Trekspert.
Well, yes.
And Kirk, you are an adjacent Trekspert. You've certainly
Yes, I'm an adjunct.
you've been on
I'm an
our
adjunct.
show for a couple times, and that was
I thought it was
it's
just
always
once.
well, it felt like twice.
Is that a fat joke?
Yeah.
Um,
Is that a fat joke?
Star Trek been very, very good to me.
Okay, you
I,
got Barry
uh,
Barry.
the next thing I want to do, and I talked to Terry Klingon because I mean, look at this face. I mean, I've got the 5 head. I just need the bumps.
Uh-huh.
And I could do a voice down here, Captain. Klingon warriors do not, whatever. I'm not going to
Thanks.
write
We'll
it.
call you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, of course, I mean, I can, Captain, Klingons
Yes.
do
And
not move.
Anne Marie types in, she's an honorary Trexpert. Yes, you are. You got your certificate in Vegas.
I
So,
did.
yes.
I mean, you did.
Okay, here's a question from War Dogheim. So, Daren, has Kirk ever invited you out to his palatial mansion on the Pacific in Oklahoma? What?
Twice. I mean, you've been there
Look,
twice.
the amount of times that Kirk has asked me to come to his place has been very uncomfortable, and I've had to say no each time.
It's that old joke. There's going to be some drinking. There's going to be some fighting, some dancing. There's some great sex.
and,
Oh,
and
wow,
lots and
that's going to be
lots of
great
sex.
for you.
Yeah, well,
Who's going to be there?
that's great. Who's going to be there? Oh, just us.
Just us, just the two of us. Yeah. We go out to eat often and hang out at a tiki bar in particular. But
Yeah,
have you been to my house, my palatial mansion by the
I've never
ocean?
been there. I've
Probably
heard
because it's
great.
messy as hell. It's where
Mine
I'm
is weird than
broadcasting.
you.
Well, you should. That will be remedied. We'll broadcast live from my house.
Oh my God, from your killing floor. What?
Well, I've never been to your place, so there's parody in that way, and parody with a T,
And
not an
yeah,
OD. I mean, there's
any
parody too.
Oh, the Profanity asks, any fun behind the scenes stories about shooting with Jerry Ryan and Michelle Hurd for Picard season 2?
The most fun was that it was directed by Leah Thompson, who is a casual friend of mine, like a work acquaintance. It was literally like every 12 to 15 years we would be on the same set, or she was doing. We met first when she was doing Howard the Duck, and we were doing Star Trek 4. And I went to a party with her and Thomas Dolby and my friend Lisa, who was doing the puppeteering of Howard the Duck's hands. And so I hung out
Hands.
with her then, and she was lovely. What's that? No,
Hands.
hands. Well, yeah, and I think some puppeteering too. But so we met then, and then so that was 80. What was that? 85, and then probably 5 6 years later, she was the girl I was dating. My girlfriend was a hair and makeup artist on a movie called Casual Sex that Leah was in,
Right.
and met her then future husband on. And so I would hang out in the makeup trailer when Leah was getting made up and her hair done, and we hung out there and had fun, and just became friendlier. And then I think I saw her one more time, and then I asked when I was getting my makeup done. I didn't really think about who's directing, and they said, "Oh, it's Leah Thompson." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So we had fun before the shoot, and she's just an absolute sweetheart. But what's nice is now we've become closer friends. We've had dinner a few times. We've done a couple cons at the same time, and just hung out. And she's delightful, and we have a lot of laughs. But in terms of the actresses Michelle and Jerry, we just hung out a little bit afterwards. Got a bunch of pictures,
Hmm.
and Jerry had done a movie with a good friend of mine I went to college with about basically the last man on Earth, and she was the last woman. And so we talked a little bit about that. But there wasn't a lot of shenanigans. I mean, it's a TV schedule and budget, so they put me in hair and makeup, which took 4 times longer than the actual shooting. We got on a bus. We're just like in the original movie. We're driving up and down real streets. It's not a green screen or anything. And the nice thing was Leah. So we do a few takes, and the idea was in the script that I just kind of shyly turned off the music and, kind of rubbed my neck or something. And it just seemed awkward. I didn't say anything. So the last take, Leah's like, just say what you would say. Just, be in the moment and say what you would say. So that's what's nice is that's the take they use where I was like,
Yeah.
sorry. I just like that song, Paul, I'm just being all nervous and weird, which I thought was funny as a counterpoint to the angry punk that he'd been 35 years earlier. It's like, I
You've
just, I
had
just like that song, man. Don't
a change of mind
yeah.
and body and soul.
Well, this is funny. I want to do a short film, and maybe I will, about that character, that punk, and the present day, and the guy in his late 50s who's kind of like, wow, what have I done with my life? And he goes home and he's about to take his own life because he's feeling like a failure, especially after that moment, like two women, shot him down and he cowered. And then there's a voice in his head. He sees a shadow at the other side of the room, like literally he's on the chair with a rope, and he hears a voice going, "To kill oneself would not be logical." And he stops, and the gag is that Spock, much like in Star Trek 3, left some of his katra, I guess because that's what happens in the punk's head. And so he becomes this like weird logical Jiminy Cricket and turns this guy's life around. And it sort of, it would be a short film, not a feature, but just kind of a funny thing of this guy who's, like being questioned by this in his inner Spock, which probably everybody has some part of their brain that's like, why are you doing this? This is not logical. At least hopefully people have that. Anyway.
It's only taken 40 years for that piece of Spock's.
Well, because he was about to take his life. In other words, if he hadn't been, about to, yeah.
Spock was just being lazy, in other words, until he
Well,
absolutely
but
had
I
to.
think it's the life finds a way. It's just the threat of even Spock's little bit of katra being wiped out makes me go, wait a minute, what are you doing here? So if I get enough thumbs up on that idea, I'll write and shoot that.
You got your katra in my peanut butter.
Yes, the ideas flow like peanut butter. Anyway, so that's the fun things that came out of it that I can think of off the top of my admiral's hat.
Yeah. No, that's nice. Everyone likes hearing your Star Trek stories.
Well, it was Leah's great and just fun, and she's a great director. She's really great, obviously, with actors, and made me feel very comfortable. So it was a blast. And I mean, the only other thing I did was the Ephraim and Dot, where I just went into a studio for half an hour and did a few takes on Michael's animated thing. So,
did you get any direction on your voiceover?
Well, we were starting to we thought, let's do like a David Attenborough, was it Richard Attenborough, David Attenborough, sort of breathy in English and a bit hoarse.
David Attenborough did the nature shows.
Yeah, David Attenborough kind of thing. It's like, and so they blah, blah, blah. And it was a little too breathy and hoarse, so we ended up with whatever my kind of generic, sounding masculine.
Well, somewhat.
Professorial voice, yeah. Somewhat masculine professorial voice, yes, and so yeah, it was fun.
Well, good. I had fun watching Star Trek when I was a kid.
What? Yeah, but you're a Trek expert. I mean, you have a whole show about deep cuts, and you interview all those people. I mean,
we're approaching our 300th episode.
Good Lord!
One a week for 300 weeks.
We've done 10 as the Weirded Beardos.
That's correct. Well, this is actually number 11.
Well, that's why I use the phrase "have done."
Have done will travel.
We have 10 in the can. We want to start doing interviews, and I was telling Daren before the broadcast, I'm having dinner with Bobby Moynihan, who I became friends with on the Muppet stuff we did, the live shows, and I'd forgotten he'd played Spocko. So we definitely
Star Trek.
That's a Star Trek. I definitely want to ask him about how that came about, because very often the main cast members in the sketch, they're the ones that wrote it. So maybe we should do we're going to do an entire episode about the birth of Spocko. Maybe not.
We'll call it The Search for Spocko.
There you go. And we will bring him back to life using the Genesis device. Is that it? Is that all our questions?
No, we're still getting.
Thank God.
I just have to find the interesting ones.
Oh, ouch.
No, I'm
yes, ladies, I'm single.
He says, when we get to 13, ask Taylor on. I guess they mean Taylor Swift.
Oh, not Jillian Taylor, the whale.
Well, yeah, or Jillian Taylor, or George Taylor from the Planet of the Apes.
Actually,
Zachary Taylor, former president.
Kathy Hicks would be a great guest. We reconnected at a convention, and she was lovely. In fact, there's a whole story about that.
Hicks.
Catherine Hicks, yeah. What did I say?
You said something else.
Oh, Kathy Hicks. Oh,
okay. Again, all right.
Daren to her friends.
Right.
Like Leo Nimoy.
Leo.
Leo.
Uncle Leo.
because it was a one-shot guest star in a movie, and we talked, just she and I chatting while we are making. It's like, it's you kind of walk into this world where everybody knows everybody,
Like
and I was,
Cheers.
yes, exactly. Everybody knows their names, uh, that would be a good interview. So definitely should hit up Catherine Hicks to you fans, but to our personal friends,
Personal friend, she's Kathy.
Kathy. That's what we call her. Kathy.
Good.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that your punk on the bus has
Yes.
no lines in Star Trek 4.
I know. Well, and they didn't give me any lines because the gag was, what was he going to say? I mean, besides "f you."
Right.
But what got me the SAG card is the song.
Right.
If you're gonna if you're gonna sing a song in a movie and they're gonna use it, you have to get a SAG card. And what's funny is I think I got paid $500 a song. It's like $3,000 to join SAG.
Yeah.
But here's another deep cut, which we've discussed a little bit and other things. But I did the voice of the computer
Right.
that asked Spock all the questions. I wrote those questions. Who said logic is the cement of our civilization, which we say in chaos using reason and guide. And I buried a Star Wars Easter egg in there because it's T Planet Hoth, which is
Right.
Planet Hoth with just the T flipped around to the front. Matron of Vulcan philosophy. And what is the atomic? What is it? The atomic
The atomic density of gadolinium.
aluminum, yeah. So, and then how do you feel? So that's my voice. And the reason I got it was Leonard's like, look, we need a bunch of questions. Leonard and Harv Bennett, because Harv was on the writing side of the 23rd century stuff. And he's like, we need a bunch of science questions. And you're kind of a science nerd, so which was true and still is. Can you come up with a bunch of like Star Trek-ish
Yeah.
questions that can be thrown at Spock, and some of them can have visual elements to it? And so I did. Klingon mummification glyph. That was the other one.
Right. Right.
And so I wrote up these questions. I wrote up like 20 of them, and I think they picked their favorite 10 or 12. And then Leonard said, "Look, while we're shooting, we need something for me to respond to. Could you just record them because you wrote this gibberish? No one else, and it was free." I'm like, "Sure." So I
No one
recorded
else
it, and
knows
they
what
played.
gadolinium is.
Yes. So we recorded it, and I kind of went, "Who said?" I kind of made my voice a little, Star Trek computer voice,
Computery.
working. Yeah. Who said logic is the matter of our civilization? And they sped it up and added some harmonics to it, and then. So that's what they used during the shoot. The idea being they would revoice it.
Right.
And Leonard's like, well, that's fine. Just use that. And then Ralph Winter came to me and said, look, we're not going to get you a set. You're not going to give you credit for that because your name would be in the credits 4 times. That'd be more than Leonard or anyone else. And so you're just going to have to suck it up, Buttercup. And, you'll get your SAG card from the song and you'll get credit for that. And as associate producer and as the punk on the bus. And I was so giddy just to be involved. So I was like, sure, whatever. What's now? It's like, well, that could have been money.
Yeah.
That would have been
Could have been
cash. Anyway, so that's a lesser known fact that I wrote and did that voice. I also played George, the whale. They made a little costume.
You did not.
And that was a fat joke, by the
You've
way.
gone over the line.
Yeah,
I played George Takei.
Oh my. Does everybody do is like Kermit? Everybody does a George Takei. Oh my.
Yes. Every Star Trek fan does.
Yes. One factor 3.
I'm just the human speedometer.
It's true. It was true. Like you'd think they'd have put a gauge on the main screen. Like what the?
Yeah, I mean,
Need a human to tell me how fast we're going.
I don't want there to be a gauge because then I don't get paid.
You know what he says? It's okay to gauge.
That's not what he said.
He says
I
that.
don't think so. George the
Mama.
Gauge.
It's okay to cage. All right. I
To
hope
caged like an animal.
have we scared everyone away? That was a good episode.
No, we got a bunch of people in the chat room.
Hi, people in the chat room. What are you wearing?
Charlotte Brockman. Stop that. Charlotte Brockman says, a piece of my childhood died when I learned George and Gracie were mechanical puppets.
They were amazing. Yeah, a guy named Walt Conti.
Yeah.
We hired him. He also did the dolphin for
Sequest.
Sequest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he
Um,
also made our submersibles for, or our model submersibles for the Abyss, and
yeah, he's
he
amazing. But
also made the sharks in Deep Blue Sea.
yeah, he became the guy you go to get a completely autonomous, radio-controlled sea creature. Yeah, and they were only about 3 feet long. And
Yeah.
what was great, we were quite chuffed, as they say in the UK, when the Department of Wildlife and Game that has to review any animal footage taken in the wild because they're a
Right.
protected species said, "Wow, this is amazing footage. Who did you get it from? These guys?" That we said, "No, that's all fake. The only shots of real whales is when they're breaching, when they're jumping out of the water.
Right.
Everything else is miniatures." And yeah, I mean, it surpassed or it passed the actual people who. Do it for a living. Forgot their names. It was a husband and wife, and they shot some
Yeah.
footage for us. It was an Italian last name. Oh, it's been a long time. I remember Walt Conti.
Yeah.
It was like the Ferraris. They had a very
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't.
but they were lovely, and they tried to get us some footage. The problem is ocean water, even around Hawaii, isn't as clear as a
Right.
swimming pool. So yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm
A
sorry. I'm
swimming.
sorry a part of you died. But shouldn't another part of you have been awakened to the wonders of technology and human excellence and
I'm
recreating
glad you
life?
said excellence.
Human excellence, art imitating life.
Shag 840 says Deep Blue Sea is amazing. Way to survive, LL Cool J.
Yes, that okay. So when what's his name gets
Yeah.
spoiler
Samuel
alert.
L.
When
Jackson.
Sam Jackson gets that surprising thing, I love
Right.
that. I'm like, oh wow, now okay, now the
It's
rules
great.
are yeah.
It's great.
And that was a brilliant case of we have a filmic language that everyone kind of knows film structure, and here's the hero to save the day. And it's literally casting can make a joke work
Yes.
because you're like, oh, okay, so this is how it works.
They'd never do anything bad to him because he's
Yes, no,
expensive.
of course. It's like
Yeah.
Sean Connery is going to make it all the way. No matter what James Bond is going to go through, he's going to end the movie. I mean, he's going to make it to the end of the movie. So when they did that, I was like, oh, yeah, I agree with Shag. I agree with you, Shag. That was awesome. That was a great casting choice and a great use of casting to help tell the story.
And I had a fun 3 months down in Baja working on it. So
Really,
it
I
was
didn't
great.
know that you were down in Baja on it. Nice.
Yeah.
I could tell by your rich, deep tan that you've got.
Well, yeah. Rich Deep got a bigger tan than I did.
We could be a tan. We could be a podcast out of Norway. Can you get whiter
Weird.
than us? Hello.
Welcome to the Weirded Beardos.
That's right. We're broadcasting, and we have Star Trek fans in Norway, in the state of Norway, and we like the Star Trek very much.
Which is great because the name of the production company for the original series was Norway. Did you know that? It's true. It's
Crickets,
absolutely true.
crickets. That was a deep cut that wasn't particularly revelatory or funny, Darren.
That's what we're all about. We're just into the cutting,
The
not the
appearance of
enjoyment.
the appearance of humor without any actual content.
Haha. Question: what is your favorite voice to do? I think this is for both of us. What is your favorite voice to
Well, you
do?
go first. I've been talking too much. Well, it's not
Well, that's
unusual.
true, but my favorite voice to do is I don't know. I got a lot. I got a lot of favorite
He's
voices.
really good. As a guy who does impressions, Darren never ceases to impress not only me, but anyone who's around. I mean, your Walken is great. Your Roddenberry, I mean, I don't know anyone who does Gene
No,
Roddenberry.
no one else does Gene Roddenberry, and that's just a shame these days because he's such a towering figure in the history of both television and science fiction.
You do a
If
great Shatner. You do
if
old
I do
Shatner
say
and new
so
Shatner.
myself. Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah, young Shatner is much like my own voice has become.
Yes, yes.
But old Shatner is a little more laid back.
Yes, yeah, you do great voices, but you do so many. I don't know.
One of my favorites is I've been working on my Jimmy Doohan without the Scotty accent, and it's slightly Canadian, but it's also you can understand that it is Jimmy Doohan after all. without Scotty's voice.
I like doing one of my go-tos because even I've impressed impressionists with it is my Rodney Dangerfield. Hey, I want
Oh
to tell
yeah,
you, it's not easy. You know what I'm saying? I get no respect. I mean, I tell
I can
you.
almost see the triple Lindy.
There you go. I like doing weird deep cuts like Joe Flynn, who was the lead
Sure.
bottom on McHale's Navy and also the dean of the school, or like Rydell High in the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes movie, the early Kurt Russell. Hey, yeah, that kind of buster. He was in one of the Disney animated films, the So and So's Down Under or whatever. He was like, Madam,
Rescuers.
the
Rescuers.
Rescuers. Yeah, and I just he was the king of fumfering, and he had this very high. Well, Parker, Alan McHale is band pirates out there. He's offering a job in these national. Um, I I did an Ed Grimley, and we had.
Now wait a
So anyway,
minute. Let's
what's
take
that?
this statement out of context. You did an Ed Grimley. Was this at some convention
Yeah,
where they
yeah,
were dressed up? What
delightful,
is?
delightful young man. And we were doing the Muppets tonight with Marty Short, who's lovely. And my producer put me on. Marty came in the writers' room to meet everybody, talk about the thing. And our producer goes, "Hey, Kirk, do your Ed Grimley." And I just choked because that's like the worst thing is doing impression. Like if I was
Yeah,
doing someone
doing
in front
something
of
on
them, that's
command
hard.
is different.
Right. But then when you're doing a character they created, it's not them, it's a character they created.
Right.
And you're like, oh God. So I just kind of like, oh gosh. And I kind of just completely biffed it. And everybody who's being funny is like, huh, nice. Anyway, and then he did the kind of nice. Anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I like doing, I don't know, I do Shatner and walk in and but again, like Franklin Pangborn, like, he's like, I
Oh
don't
my
talk
God.
like that.
Yes.
He was
Now
in the
watch the birdie. He's going to fly away.
But he did with our man Godfrey. My man Godfrey?
Yeah.
Our man Godfrey. But he was the father who was always, he talked like a cartoon character there. And Ed Wynn is always a favorite. Who
Well,
Alan
wait.
Tudyk.
No, that actor was that Eugene Paulette?
Sorry, Eugene Paulette. Franklin Pangborn was yes,
Franklin
sorry.
Pangborn is
Eugene
the one I
Paulette.
did from our gang. He was the
Yes.
photographer.
Yes. Oh, I also like to do Hans Connery because he's very fun and you can act like you're slightly inebriated. So yeah,
Let's see. Anne Marie says, "Oh my God, you two."
you said don't quit your day jobs.
Tia Jenkins says, "Question: Have you done an impersonation of someone and they walk in the room?"
Well, that was basically, but it was no. Well,
Yes.
there is
No.
a
Yes.
story.
No.
When I was a kid, when I was like in third grade, the teacher, we had an elderly third grade teacher, and she excused herself from the room to go do something, and mild chaos ensued because we were unsupervised. And I stood up and I was doing her impression of her, and I was singing her name. Her name was Mrs. Crichton, and I remember this. It's one of those when I die, it's going to pass through as a humiliating moment. I was standing up going, Mrs. Crichton, Crichton, Mrs. Crichton, Crichton. And everyone's kind of freezes, and it's that thing that you see in comedies where you're like, I didn't say this, but in my mind, I'm like, she's right behind me, and I just turn around, and she's walked in the door, just standing there watching me, and I was like, oh God. So that's the only time I was caught red-handed doing it. I used to do impressions of the people at ILM that I was working with, like
Yeah.
particularly Stuart Ziff. Stuart Ziff had a lateral lisp,
Nice.
and but I would do it in front of him because we were all friends, and it was just kind
Yeah.
of a goof, and yeah. But that was the
That's
only time
cool.
I was caught and completely mollified or mortified. Sorry, not mollified.
I did Shatner for Shatner a couple times.
And it was like, ah, yes.
Um, the first time was in the mid '90s, and I got to go to the dinner for his fan club. And my roommate at the time was my friend Dylan Del Gershio, who has passed away. But we were Star Trek fans together, and we did a little thing for the Talk Trek radio show called the Counterfeit Bills, where
Oh,
we would do songs by two uh, Shatner impersonators. But we performed The Age of Aquarius for Bill Shatner at his dinner.
like Rocket
And
Man style.
yes, Yes.
Yeah.
When the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets and love will steer the stars. And he turned beet red and started laughing hysterically.
Oh, okay, good. That beat red
And
was like, oh, yeah.
yeah, like, woo! Yeah, steam building up. Uh, but it was amazing, and Shatner had a great sense of humor, and I got to sit at his dinner table after that, and uh, he was explaining his thoughts behind all his albums of the time, and
Really?
you know I don't really sing, but I could do these dramatic readings, and that became a little bit of a calling card, and but it wasn't supposed to be riffing on the songs. It was just because I couldn't sing them,
Right.
which
Well,
was
Leonard, on the other hand,
um, that
he
Leonard believed he was a troubadour.
he loved doing it, and he had. So I asked him. I said, I didn't even know that he had, like, when we were doing Trek 4, he had like 5 albums at that point,
Yeah,
and he was doing a country western one.
yeah,
And he did have a nice kind of basso profundo baritone voice. And I was like, "Why? I mean, do you just like?" He goes, "Well, I think back in the Star Trek days, the end of Star Trek, the original series, he was given like a 7 album deal that he had to do, so it
right,
became literally contractually obligated work.
right.
But he loved doing it. It was fun, and he liked to write. But he was very, for a guy who seems so serious and sagacious, he did like performing, and he didn't always want to do, dark characters or thoughtful characters. So he liked singing, and I mean, Bilbo
Yeah.
is proof
Let's
of that. I don't
let's
think
let's sing
anyone
a little
would
bit of
gun to
the
it.
Bilbo Baggins song, shall we? No. Yes, we can. In the middle of the earth, in the land of the Shire, lives a brave little hobbit whom we all admire. With his long wooden pipe, fuzzy woolly toes, he lives in a hobbit hole, and everybody knows him, Bilbo.
Bilbo.
Bilbo Baggins, only 3 feet tall. Yeah,
The choreography in that is so. It's like Austin Powers couldn't even parody it.
yeah. I mean, it is so iconic for its time and
I
place.
mean, I think it
Uh,
was what's her name who did the same choreography for all the Beach Blanket movies, and then did the song "Oh Mickey." Tony Basil, I believe,
ah,
choreographed that.
that's
Yeah,
fascinating. I
Tony
every time
Basil.
I see that video, I can just imagine the crazy day at wherever they
Vasquez
shot that.
Rocks, or whatever. Yeah, it was
It
like,
wasn't. I don't think
or
it might have been
Chatsworth. It was out.
Vasquez. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was wherever there was rocks and very little
rocks
growth.
and girls with flip hairdos. Um, yeah, I didn't have the courage at the time to ask him about it because I knew about it because they
Yeah.
played on Dr. Demento. But we did talk about his albums, but I was like, I was too shy to be like, "What the hell are you thinking?" Or was that just a goof? Like you were having fun? I never asked, so I don't
Well,
know.
as people who listen to the Inglorious Treksperts know, our main theme is from Leonard Nimoy's album "Mr. Spock's Music from Outer Space,"
Everyone's
uh,
always saying,
and I got that from my uncle when I was like 7 years old, something like that. Um, and my uncle was my conduit to Star Trek because he
huh,
was a fan of that, and he built me one of the exploration sets, the phaser communicator and tricorder, and he's great.
that's cool.
But so I listened to this album hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. That album has a spoken, several spoken tracks on it, with Leonard doing dramatic readings, and but I remember, when I was like 8 years old, I had this memorized. It's called Alien, and from the land of endless night come I, an alien from afar, spewed forth upon your pleasant sphere, so much like you, and yet so unalike. And it goes for another, 6 minutes. But
Wow.
when I was a kid, I had this memorized, and I think I did it at school once or something like that. You know, typical ham uh,
Yeah.
raised
Now,
Midwest raised ham.
was it his writing or was it someone
No,
else's?
it was someone else's. He had a producer on that album who wrote a lot of the music and stuff. But it's such a fascinating record because it was, of course, released on Dot Records, which was the Paramount-owned record label, and
Yeah.
they had, of course, the Mission Impossible theme on the other side. So they were trying to cash in on his connection to
Interesting.
both, uh, and a very odd recording of "Where Is Love" from Oliver, and it is so heartfelt, and he really loves what he's doing on the
Yeah.
album that you're with him. But wow, some of them are pretty odd, even for the '60s.
I think the impression I got from working with him, talking a little bit about that stuff, was like, hey, you know what? They're paying me to do it, and I like doing it. And he wasn't like, this is my big shot. It was like,
Right.
why not? Um, you said something about Mr. Spock's music from outer space. I did, as a birthday present one year, I did a cover of a book, a fake cover called "Maybe I Am Spock," because
Right.
because his book had not come out yet, and
Right.
I just did a caricature of him with, this
Oh,
was, I
that's
was all just
funny.
hand drawn, and it was like a card, as a birthday card, birthday or Christmas, but I think it was a birthday,
Right.
and he got a giggle out of it, and then like 2 years later he
Ah.
became than I am, yeah, yeah. So we had
Who'd you
good
get
time.
to draw this? Yes.
No, he knew I could draw. Damn it.
He had to. He had to know. I think that I like to think that if I had just been a little older, I would have been able to participate in those early Star Trek movies, because I definitely would have been out here by then.
Yeah.
But I just missed Star Trek 4 by 2 months,
Oh wow.
and I came out here. But it's look that obviously is the one with the whales. It's the most popular of the original series movies, and it's probably because of that dude on the bus.
Well, I think it's
The
good. I
theme.
mean, people ask me, and I said it's because it's a Star Trek movie that's not for Star Trek fans. Like Star Trek 2, well, 1 and 2, motion picture and 2, were so deep Star Trek. If you didn't know Khan was or anything, I mean, they explained it enough, but you're like, that's who got excited about it. In fact, it's the litmus test. What's your favorite Star Trek movie? If they say 2, I know they're a original Trek fan. If they say
Right.
4, I know they just watch Star Trek like it's like the difference between Muppet fans and people who like the Muppets. Like the Muppet fans think like Take Manhattan is the best Muppet movie besides the
Right.
first one,
Right.
and the non-Muppet fans either liked like Christmas Carol or even going back to the earlier ones liked Caper,
Right.
besides the first one. So it's interesting. I bring it up. I used to bring that up, that analogy of Star Trek, to the Muppets. I say, you can do movies that'll double down on for your fans, but you really need to do movies and that's what Christmas Carol was in some degree at
Right.
Treasure Island. It's about things we all know, which was again Earth in the late 20th century, and the Muppets kind of take on it. And so is Star Trek's take on the world of today. And I think that's why people are like, oh, that's fun. That's a fun idea, and they had fun with it. Leonard definitely wanted to be one of the more, he talked about it being like the humorous episodes, like Shore Leave and stuff like that.
Right.
There was a little more fun.
The ones that Gene Roddenberry hated.
Yeah, well, I get it. I mean, that was he was allowed to have his opinions, but
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the ones he loved
Everybody's
were
entitled to an opinion.
yes.
We got a few comments on here.
Mm.
Charlotte Brockman says Star Trek 4 is an instant dose of serotonin, my go to film when I'm feeling down.
Oh, yay.
And she also repeats that Take Manhattan is the best Muppet film. And
And you're a diehard Muppet fan because
we're also getting some shout outs on Great Muppet Caper. Also,
yeah.
Greg Kenzo says the road goes ever on and on down through the doorway something something. I know you're trying to quote the Tolkien song that Gandalf sings at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring. The question is it the one from the movie? The road goes ever on and on down from the door where it began. Or is it the version on the BBC radio show? The road goes ever on and on down from the door where it began. So just let me know which version you want.
I think you've got a Burl Ives thing going there, both in audio and visual. I think you should
Have
do
a
an
holly jolly Christmas. It's the
and
best time of the year. Say hello to friends you know and everyone you hate. Wait,
hey,
no, that's not the words.
there you
They're
go.
liking.
Now it's time for your album. I think Dot Records could make a pretty penny off the.
Well, the funny thing is that I've been trying to pitch to Bill Shatner every time I see him, a couple times a year,
You know.
that he should do an album of his versions of the James Bond themes. I've already made a
Gold
version of
finger.
this. I,
He's the
I've,
man.
I, I've,
Man with the golden touch.
yeah, it's. I did a version of Goldfinger. I did a version of uh, All the Time in the World,
Right.
Live and Let Die,
Diamonds are forever.
and I've yes, I did Diamonds Are Forever as well. And the album is called A View to a Bill, and
Well,
it's his interpretations through my mind. But I, I, I gotta get the guts to pitch this to him because I
hey,
think
time is
it would.
on not on your
It's
side.
something that we need. Yeah,
It is. The world needs that.
he's the man with a Midas touch, a spider's touch, just a cold finger. Yeah.
Do it. Do it.
Well, I would do it live, but we'll do it live. I would do that, but the karaoke album that I cribbed it from would complain. So
Oh, there you go.
there you are.
Very good.
Yes. Oh, sweet sky dude, War Dogheim says, I can totally see that Burl Ives thing. Well, thank you. I'm certainly going for the Burl Ives thing every day.
And that's what the ladies say when he's out at the singles bars. You know, you've got a Burl Ives
The
kind of vibe
the
around
young
you.
girls love that Burl
They
Ives.
do. The ladies today go crazy.
I'm only 60 years too late.
Oh, I don't know if he was ever a babe chick magnet, but who
Hey,
knows?
you don't know.
Hey, after we played Big Daddy and a Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, he might have gotten some action then.
When there's a reason he called him Big Daddy, and it wasn't his stomach. Let me just say
I
that.
think it was the profuse sweating though that maybe kept the ladies at bay.
Galinda says, I totally ordered the Imaginext punk rocker figure. It's tiny. Oh, there's apparently Imaginext is a company that's making a unlicensed rocker on the bus
Wow, I
figure.
tried to get Funko because they just
Yeah,
did a Wes figure. I'm like, all right, just take Wes and he's got the mohawk and he's got the leather
you don't want
jacket,
them.
just to do paint job and then I can make money signing them. But yeah,
Charlotte Brockman chimes in again and says, my violin coach in middle school looked just like Burl Ives. It was uncanny. So we got the school teacher and the Burl Ives thing going at the same time. So
there you go.
awesome.
We've hit a nerve in the zeitgeist.
Zeitgeists don't have nerves.
It's the sequel to Poltergeist.
Right. Zeitgeist. It's just
Zeitgeist.
people hanging around talking about stuff that's going on in
Yeah, this
the
is the water.
present
It's
day.
all the water cooler. Yeah. See, we're just an idea factory. This is
We
why
are.
you listen to the Weird and Weird.
Unfortunately, we're shutting down because there's no money left.
Well, there's also a lot of asbestos in the joke, so. Oh, now what?
Fisher Price Imaginext blind bag punk rocker action figure on eBay. Ah, so you have to do an eBay search for these
But
figures.
are people? Is this a modified thing, like where they
I
take
don't
a?
know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know. Question: why has Kirk not been at Star Trek Las Vegas?
Ha!
Well, because
Thank
they
you.
haven't asked him yet.
They've never asked me. In fact, I on the 40th anniversary or 30th anniversary of Trek 4, I even contacted them through a connection and said I can get Ralph Winter, Brooke Breton, and I can talk about because Harv and Leonard had passed, and Bill, is not somebody who's like I don't. I mean, he does the convention for everything, not just Star
Yeah.
Corps. But I said we could do a whole thing talking about the production of Star Trek 4. And they were like, yeah, no, we're good. I was kind of surprised. And that was before I'd done Picard or Ephraim and Dot. So I don't know. I have friends who've even asked vendors who, pals of mine, have Cherry Tree. They make amazing computers that look like the Borg cube. And
Right.
he's asked them point blank, hey, can I, have Kirk Thatcher come out and do signings at my booth? They're like, well, you can do whatever you want at your booth. But they weren't like,
Right.
oh, that's a good idea. So I don't know. I don't know if someone hates me there or they just, they want bigger fish, which I get. I'm not like a big player, but
Well, look, I don't think it's a question of fish. I think it's just people just don't
matters of
like you.
taste.
I
Yeah,
think that's what it is.
people don't like me. But I would love to
No,
go.
it's weird. I mean, it's just weird the way that people get invited to conventions and others don't, and it's just
Right.
it's a very political situation,
I guess
to
I
be
don't have a
honest.
con agent. I tried it. It was not super successful. So any conventions I do, it's because they just ask me directly. I've tried to get a
Yeah.
convention agent, and they're like, so it's fine. I'm happy to not give up 10% of what I make, since it's not like
Well,
I
maybe you
go.
should include it. You should include your services to go to boat shows.
Captain Kirk, and that would be a great
Captain Kirk
misdirect.
recommends.
Captain Kirk at the boat show.
This,
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. Keep those cards and letters going to them. Like, when's Kirk Thatcher going to give a Star Trek 4 talk and Picard and whatever?
Absolutely. Well, obviously, not only Kirk Thatcher, but the Weirded Beardos would love to go
Yeah,
to conventions
and we
all
would be
around the
good.
world.
We would be good hosts because we know a lot
Yes.
about a lot of pop culture stuff. I mean, Star Wars, Star Trek, and we've had a finger I mean, for me, I'm Star Wars, Star Trek, and Marvel,
Yeah,
which is,
you got
doesn't.
3 fingers in that.
I've got three fingers in those pies, baby. Again, a minor player, but I know the big players. So, yeah, call your Congress people while we're
Sailor
still
Marge
young
says,
and can talk.
Sailor Marge says, "We love you, Kirk." So
Oh, Sailor Marge, I am
isn't that nice?
single, so Thank you. That means a lot. Uh,
And we are out of time. I'm sorry we started a little late, but it's already 11 o'clock Pacific time. So thank you so much. I know
no more
a bunch
tick
of
tick
you.
tock.
This
How's
isn't
that?
TikTok.
Star
This
Trek.
is YouTube.
No more tick tick tock because you said weird.
Tick. Oh right, tick tock, tick tock,
Yes.
tick tock, Clarice.
Name
You
the
know what you
episode.
look
I'm
like?
sure
You
they
look
can
like
hear
a
me.
rube. Thank you, everybody, for
Thanks
joining
everyone
us on
for
our first. Hopefully, we can do this. Maybe once a month or something,
we'll do it
because
in
it would be
3D
fun to
next
have.
time. With if you have the Apple
Wow. Well,
AR
all you need to
VR.
do is look at the two of us on the screen and cross your eyes, and we'll be in 3D. It's uncanny. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for the interesting questions and the encouragement. Thanks a
Aloha.
lot. Take
Bye.
care, and so long.